Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And we've got another new shell out here today to test. And it's one that several of you guys have requested. And it's definitely one that I wanted to take a look at as well and see what kind of results I could get out of it, that's for sure. So there's definitely a good potential that we see a pretty nice looking pattern today, I'd say. But as for that new shell we've got out here today, I picked up some of the verdict ammo. These ones are the 410 3-inch 7/8 ounce of number 9.5s, moving about 1,065 feet per second. And I don't know if we've tested any 9.5 shot out of this setup anyway, so definitely curious to see how well these actually perform. Now as for the setup I've got here today, I brought out my Mossberg 500 410 turkey here, and as for a choke, I went with this guy. This is the Carlson's heavyweight TSS turkey choke. It's a 385 constriction, and it has shown some really good patterns for us in the past, so figured this is a pretty decent place to start out and see what kind of performance we can actually get here. So definitely a setup that should give us a pretty decent result, I'd think, today. So as for the test today, everything is going to be the same as usual. I have the turkey target set up downrange at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to see how close we actually get to the 1065 that's on the box. So let's get you guys a view of the target. We'll take our shot, look at our chrono, and then go down and see how they actually perform. I have some decently high hopes for this setup, but I've also seen a few people say these verdict shells are a little bit picky with the choke combo you use, so I don't know. I guess we'll just have to test it and see what kind of performance we get. But let's head over here and shoot one of these rounds and see what kind of pattern it gives us. Okay, so that shell gave us 1113 through our chronograph. The box is claiming 1065, so we did see a little bit more than their claim, but I'd still say we're right about where we should be. 1113, definitely not moving too fast, not moving too slow, so I think we're perfectly fine up here as far as velocity goes. But how well did it actually pattern down there at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, we absolutely do have a dead bird. There's 3 or 4 in the brain there, and 1 or 2 more down the spine. So absolutely would have done the job. However, we might have been just a touch high and maybe just a slight bit to the right on this pattern. But overall, I think we can still see what we want to see here. And initially, right off the bat, it's not a bad pattern, especially for a 410. There's definitely a noticeable amount more shot with this 9.5 shot than there would be in a shell with 9s or something like that. So I definitely think that helps. But looking at the pattern here, we don't necessarily see that super hot baseball-like core or anything. It's a little bit more on the open and more even side. Now, our core area might be right about in there, and it looks pretty decent overall. Definitely no voids that I'd be concerned about a bird walking through, but the rest of the pattern around that is definitely on the open side, and it has a few voids mixed in with it as well. Now, this being 9.5 shot and seeing this little bit more open pattern that doesn't necessarily have a super defined core area, this looks to me like this shell might like a little bit more constriction, which does make sense being that it is 9.5 shot. A little bit smaller shot seems to like the tighter chokes, and this 385 Carlson's is kind of middle of the road when it comes to 410 and turkey chokes anyway. But I will say, definitely a capable turkey pattern at 40 yards. There's no question about that whatsoever. And I think if we step it up a little bit tighter in constriction on the choke, I think we can get a little bit hotter of a pattern out of it as well. Now, I don't know that we necessarily see a whole lot of flyers, but we do see some of these little stragglers out here that just right around the edge of the pattern just open up a little bit. I'm sure the rest of the pattern off that top right edge is probably about the same, with a few pellets that went over there as well, which is another reason why I think if we went up in choke constriction, got a little tighter, we'd be able to see a little bit more of a condensed pattern. But overall here, if you like leeway and still want a good 40-yard turkey pattern out of your 410, that combination would absolutely do the job for you. There's no doubt about that. Give you a little bit more wiggle room in at closer ranges, but still be able to go out and reach to 40 yards as well. So overall, not a terrible start for these verdict shells, but I still think we can do a little bit better with a little bit tighter constriction as well. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and as you can see, it opened up pretty far here. 3 out of the 4 petals opened up almost perfectly flat there. But the big thing I'm looking at is there is no shot stuck down in the bottom of this wad, which has seemed to be a problem with 410 shells, is you get pellets stuck down in the bottom. But overall here, not really anything I'm too worried about. Everything looks pretty good, no rips or tears or anything. So I think the wad did what it was supposed to do in this test for us. Alright y'all, well, what do you think about that performance right there? Absolutely a usable turkey pattern at 40 yards, there's no question about that. Again, like we said earlier, doesn't necessarily have that super hot defined core, but the pattern is not really blown wide open either. I think with these 9.5 shot, they're gonna like a little bit more constriction, which absolutely makes sense. So I've got a feeling they're gonna do pretty well in the stock 380 choke that came with that gun. But either way, we're definitely not off to a bad start here, that's for sure. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected? Were you a little bit surprised one way or the other? If you've tested these verdict shells, how have they done for you? And what setups have you seen that they like to perform in? Let me know all that down in the comments, as well as maybe what other choke or setup combo you might want to see these shells run through. But at the end of the day, we absolutely have a dead bird here and a perfectly usable turkey pattern. So definitely think we're off to the right start here with these verdict shells. But with that being said, I've got a bunch more testing to film for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send shells or anything else if you'd like. So all that information will be in the description for you, but I'm going to get back to it. So I'll see y'all in the next one.